40s and early 50s, it was all assembler, or a slightly dressed up thing called a macro assembler, where you could have little routines full of, you know, packaged assembler instructions which could be called up as and when needed. So that sort of served people for quite some time. But probably one of the first high-level languages to introduce loops was good old Fortran. Even though that was published in '65, Fortran itself goes back, I think, for almost 10 years before that. It was invented by John Backus and a large team of people at IBM in the 1950s. Many of you will know it. It's an excellent language for engineering and scientific calculations. It is low level. I mean, when you look at the nature of a Fortran loop, it's almost like doing it in assembler, but not quite. They didn't call them for loops, they called them do loops. What I'm saying here is, you package all this up, where you're saying, repeat the following sequence of instructions, which I've done with my wavy lines here. Keep doing them until you hit the statement with a numeric label on it of 180. The loop back from the statement labeled 180 back up to here to increment the loop counter, which you're all familiar with in languages other than C. It wasn't done as it would be in C by saying, here's my block of stuff to be repeated, it's inside these curly braces. Here you can see it's a lot more like assembler, a lot more low level. I mean, there's nothing magic about 180, it could be 72, it depended on your labeling system, you see. Implicitly here, in a simple thing like this, you'd start off at 1, every time you return back here, it would reset I to be 2, 3, 4, so on, up to and including 10. It's comforting for those who were coming from assembler into high-level language to see something that was only slightly higher level in sophistication than assembler was. How did loops become more powerful, if you like? Well, again, even in assembler and even in Fortran, there's no reason why you couldn't have a loop within a loop. So I might have outside of all this code yet another layer of do, what shall we say, 200. J equals 1, 20. So there might be some more statements between 180 and 200, who knows? But again, you see a numeric label, and can you see what's happening is that for every setting of J, which will start at 1 and go up to 20, for every single one of those J settings, the inner loop will be running through the complete spectrum of settings of I going from 1 to 10. So you will have 200 locations are being affected here, basically going through the rows and columns of a matrix. All sorts of calculations in physics, chemistry, and particularly engineering just rely on two-dimensional arrays full of numbers, either integers or scientific numbers with a decimal point and so on. Even hardcore assembler programs had to admit, if you were doing heavy scientific programming, it was nice to be a little bit more abstract and to have this sort of facility available to you. Now, you might say, well, what came along to spoil the party then? Or how did people realise that this was wonderful, but not quite enough? The compiler, of course, has got to be tolerant and has got to be capable of compiling nested do loops correctly. But how deep would it let you nest them? Well, I'm guessing, I would suspect that the early Fortran compilers probably wouldn't allow you to go more than about 10 deep maximum. And I think you and I, Sean, have just been looking up what are the current limits in C. I seem to remember the earliest GCC was something like 32, but I think we looked up that some C++ nowadays allows you to do nested loops 256 deep. And of course there are multi-dimensional problems that might actually need that, because
this guy's like crazy smart.
It doesn't take much knowledge of higher maths to realise for a loop within a loop, the outer loop goes around n times, the inner loop is going around n times. You are then coping with an n squared problem. If you put the third loop inside the other two, you're coping with a cubic, three-dimensional problem. So what we're saying is all these multi-dimensional, polynomial, going on exponential problems that come up quite naturally, you can cope with them in nested for loops so long as they don't need to be more than power 30 or power 256 or whatever it is. And you think, well, that should be enough for anybody. There's these multi-dimensional problems. You can just do them by nesting for loops. And surely 256 is enough for anybody. What kind of problem wouldn't it be enough for? Well, a lot of theoretical computer scientists of my knowledge amuse me greatly when those of them that will own up to this back in the 60s. People started going to lectures from mathematicians, theoreticians, people concerned with Gödel computability and so on. And of course, those sort of people were very familiar indeed at a mathematical level with Ackermann's function. Now, as you know, you and I, we've done that one.
Is that the most difficult?
The most difficult number to compute, question mark. We set this going 4 weeks ago, nearly now. The first few have vanished off the top. So what made it so difficult? Well, you write down Ackermann's function, and it very clearly ends up with routines calling themselves recursively in a very, very complicated way. Now, I think your average sort of engineer would be happy to say there's this thing called factorial, which is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 or whatever, and you could do that in a loop as well as doing this fancy recursion.
All right, we are back. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday afternoon here, just taking a chill. Stretch it out. Gosh. I like this knot in my back. I like scoliosis. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day so far. Welcome back to the stream. We lost a sub. Dang it, we were on 1850. Feels bad. Anybody out there want to be lucky number 1850? Now's your chance. All right, we are back studying some Python here. I threw on this little lecture of loops versus recursion here. I haven't really been paying attention much, but I'm sure this guy knows what he's talking about. What's everybody working on? How's it going, everybody? Welcome in tonight. Probably going to stream for about an hour and a half here on this part 1 session, and then maybe we'll come back later this evening for a part 2 and stream for another hour and a half or 2 hours later this evening. So let's go ahead and kick off this stream without further ado. Let's go ahead and load up. What do we want to work on today? Let's do our project here. All right, let's see here. Okay, so this is our thin layer chromatography project. Should we do this? I don't know what to do. Yeah, let's code. We got to code. So I'm gonna first start off with, right, this is all really good, right? But it's a little bit difficult right now with my current understanding to be able to handle all this dynamism, right? Dynamic creation of, HTML objects with JavaScript. It's a little bit difficult to manage right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this as dev index HTML, and then I'm going to create a new file called index.html where we're going to basically house a lot of the structure of this other one, but instead of doing it like this, what we're going to do is, let's go here, move this out of the way. And let's go ahead and open up a live server here. Okay, so all we have is this right now. Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's get some music going here, yeah? Yeah. I don't know about this. Maybe not. Oh yeah, here we go. We back. Alright. Let's get coding here. Okay. So right now we have a header section. Okay. We've got a content. Left content. Hey Shari, how's it going? Welcome back in, dude. Okay, so we have so what we're gonna do is we're basically gonna add in, we're gonna reformat this section. So we have a div for content section, we have a div for compound selection section, so I have an ID, I have a button, so add compound button. $3:41 a.m. Jeez. Well, good night to you, my friend. It's 3:41. It's 3:11 p.m. for me right now. Okay, so let's go ahead. We have the content section, left content here. Content section right, content section left, content section section. So we have this button, randomize simulation button, this button. This isn't going to be in a div. This is going to be in the form. Okay. Hey, Solakin, I just started my web dev journey. Seems to be the only way to make money without college. Is that what you're working on? I haven't tuned in for a while. Hey, Solakin, welcome back, dude. Appreciate you for joining me again. It's awesome to hear from you. Yeah, we're making our thin layer chromatography simulation a front-end development. So you have a solvent that grows at 100% speed, randomization across 5 compounds, and then they slowly grow, kind of mimicking a liquid moving through a medium at various rates based on polarity or an RF factor compared to the medium. So we're going to try to make this into a web format here. But we're currently trying here. So we have, let me go ahead and load up my Twitch. Activity feed here. Ooh. Hold on, I want to see what this sounds like. Okay. How do I go to my stream manager? There we go. Activity. Pause that. Move the stream up. And then goes right there. There we go. All right, cool. We got that loaded up. No, we got to bring back the tunes. All right. I don't want to blow out your guys' ears too much. How's that? Does that sound good? Your own bot using AI API? No, I haven't yet. I haven't really tried anything with that kind of stuff. Okay, let's get into this. Okay, so we have our header section, we have our left content, and our right content. Our left content houses entry, or has a form. Okay, so let's just... So we have the content section here, in this div here, right? And this opens up and ends here. Okay, so then we're gonna have this exit. So then we have these buttons, 3 buttons. Okay, in between here we're gonna have entry. Hello. What is it? What's an entry? Is it entry? What's the input? Sorry. Does it not give a closing tag? Does input not give a closing tag? Okay. Placeholder is going to be description. So let's make another input here. We're going to add a class is going to equal to we're going to say compound compound entry. So class compound entry, placeholder description. We'll say ID equal to compound entry description. Okay, so we'll copy this down. This will be compound entry data, or entry RF. Type will be number. Is it integer or number? And then this will be retention factor, right? So this is a button for add compound. We can remove this, we don't need that. We'll just do wrap this in a form. Give this an action of a temp method of post. Open this form. We'll take everything in here, put it into here. Now if we give this form a title hello, what happens? Okay. So now this is in our form, right? We have inputs, buttons for our form. So let's give a H2 here of compound entry. Okay, so we're given a compound entry. So we'll say, give me a basic form example. Post label. Okay, a label is the form. So give it a label rather. For name. So you put a, that's what the label does? And then if you put in a break here, it goes to the bottom. We need two of them. Oh, basically two spaces. Huh. Okay. So you have the input. You take these two again. Right. No, that's just the Jippity quick access hotkey one. Okay, so we give compound entry, description, run simulation, retention factor. Can you allow for floats 0.0 to 1.0 min, max, and step? Okay. The retention factor type number min equals 0, max is 1, and step equals 0.01. So then we'll go, can I make it width 20 pixels? How do you change the width? Style equals width. Changing the input width, not the text field itself? Yeah, I think so too. So style width. It wants its style width. I hate how it's doing this. Width. Let's make it pretty big. Let's see what it looks like now. Okay, that's big. Okay. So we'll say so then maybe we won't make it say retention factor. We'll just make it say RF, and we'll remove the style altogether. And I'll leave it like that. So now you can give an RF factor. And we'll give a step of 0.1. We want to keep it a little bit more refined. Okay. So that's compound entry. So I'm going to create a div here. I'll say single. I'll say class is equal to single compound entry. Or single compound info. And then what we'll do is we'll open this, we'll throw in here this. So now we have single compound info, and we'll give this an individual ID equal to compound -1. Make this compound container, I guess. Compound container. So compound entry RF, compound container. So then what we'll do is we'll how's it going, everybody? Welcome in. I appreciate you guys joining me here. My name is Michael. I'm 26. I got a degree in human bio and a minor in chemistry. Yeah, we're almost at 2K subs. Anybody want to be lucky number 1850? It's on the board. It's on the board, somebody. Thank you guys for joining me here. Welcome in. Hey, Ryan. Hey, Sari. Hey, Versenas. Hey, Ashish. How's it going, everybody? What are you guys working on? What kind of projects are you guys making? What kind of code are you guys learning? Are you guys in school? Independent? What are you guys doing? Let me know your background. Okay, so then what happens if I just duplicate this down? Make this compound container 2. Compound entry. Option 2. Container 1, description 1, compound entry RF 1, 2, 2, 2. I'll copy this down. Make this a third entry, third entry, third entry, copy it down, do a fourth entry, fourth entry, fourth entry, and one more time for fifth, fifth entry, fifth entry, so fifth compound container, fifth entry, a fifth RF, and then, right, that's fine, like so. Yeah, we're still working in Python. We're doing a full stack now, I guess. We're expanding out full stack. So this is my Python script I wrote for displaying these actual chromatography simulations, and we're now trying to make it into a full stack framework here. Nice, Versenias. How do you pronounce that? Let me know. Okay. So I'm gonna take this whole left section and I'm gonna throw it in and say, okay, to learn from, I'm gonna say, this is my, okay, I took my current HTML and got and wanted to first make it simple with just static entries, inputs, instead of the dynamic ones from before. I will get those when I am more familiar. How does my current HTML look for these elements? I am currently copying a lot of info for these containers for each compound. Do you see areas for improvements or errors? I am trying to learn. You're doing great, seriously. Thanks, pat on the back, mate. The HTML you wrote is correct. It will work exactly how you want for static inputs. And for now, a few small improvements. I know Rush, if you want to practice the cleaner structure, use a loop or shorter markup eventually. Since all your compound containers are nearly identical later, you might generate them with a JavaScript or backend code, instead of copying and pasting 5 times. But for learning right now, your manual way is totally fine. It's better to understand the structure first. Group the inputs better inside each compound container. Maybe wrap both inputs inside a little div together, or even add a small label. Okay, so it wants me to add like a label into the div. So I am wrapping into a div of each compound for each compound container. So then it wants me to add in like a label for each one. Let's try that. Compound 1. And then we'll add in a break. So what does that do? Okay, now if we add this in to each of these here, we give it compound 2. Compound 3. 4, 5. That's a good idea. Okay. I'm going to add in one more break. Here. I'll keep the double breaks for now. That looks fine. Hey Don, how's it going? Welcome. You're at the casino? Doesn't matter how you pronounce it, all good. You use matplot with a Python for the graph? Yes, exactly. Have you ever tried PC AAA games? Yeah, I played a lot of video games. I used to be a huge gamer, but I gave it up to really focus and learn code. I've been wanting to get back into it and play more like CS and stuff. When I was taking a course for Python, we were being taught Flask for web development. I forgot how to call Python stuff on the web. Yeah, we were using Flask in our course for CS50X, but we're trying Fast API out for this project here. Okay, group inside. Okay, use the attribute label for accessibility. Use the attribute and labels for. Use for attribute and label for accessibility. It connects the label to the input box. Okay, so. Okay, then let me go like this. Let me delete this for now. Let's get just one section made up real good. That there. Okay, cool. So we have a compound container, we have a compound label. The label is going to have a 4 equal to the compound entry description, compound container 1. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll get rid of this. Copy this down once, make this 2, 2, 2, 2. Copy this. Make this 3, 3, 3, 3. Copy that down. Delete that. This 4, 4, 4, 4. Bring it down. Lastly, 5, 5, 5. Okay. Now let's just say compound 1, so compound 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now we have those entries. Perfect. The Christmas lights are an all year round thing, my friend. Piss and Jug Gamer, you play World of Warcraft. I concentrate on more important things in life and not lose too much on time on video games, and I can guarantee you're 10 plus years ahead of some people in life. That's nice. Appreciate those kind of words, man. Thank you so much for being here. What are your guys' backgrounds? What do you guys do? What do you guys code? Okay, so now we have this form, right? Okay. So let's say this. Okay, how does this look? That looks even better than before. They're clean, loading, and polishing fast. Here's what good improvements you added: labels for each compound, small improvements, making sharper. Should match the input ID, not the container ID. Right now, your label says compound container. Okay, so we'll say compound 1. So labels for compound 1 entry. 2, 3, 4, 5. So now if you click this, you get auto highlighted onto there. Okay, cool. This tab goes to the next one. Nice. Perfect. So let's get rid of these breaks in between. We can style it differently later. Okay, that looks good. Out there make money. The gaming career is not that bad. That's true. Group your buttons in a div. Okay, so we'll group the buttons in a div. So we'll say div. We'll give these a class equal to button container. ID is equal to compound entry compound form buttons. Buttons container, compound form buttons. We'll open the div, wrap these in. Okay. Nice. So now, in the right hand section, let's give a image tag here. Let's give it a source equal to temp path for right now. We'll close this. Let's give a href. Is it href? No. So that'll be on the right side. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm gonna go like this. Let's take the plot. Let's go here. Let's save an image of the plot. Replace that. Come into here. I'm gonna add in that temporary figure into my project. Test plot, PNG. Copy path. Go into our source here, grab this path, paste that path here. do slash source plus plot png. There we go. There it is. So now let's go to our styles. We have this header section, compound container. In this, am I using compound container? Yeah, I'm using that. Which is what I'm using, which is what's getting here with this styling for margin top and bottom. Compound name entry. I'm not using this. This that makes it smaller. Compound name entry. Compound name entry. So we'll just give a compound entry. Margin right. Now if we comment that out. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now we're gonna give the dot what's it called? Compound button. We're gonna do the dot buttons container. Or the compounds formed buttons. Right, compound form buttons. We're going to give these a margin top of 7 pixels. I give what 700. Here. Okay, now it's a little bit more spaced out. Okay. Hey, Joe Angelo. Song name. This is Surrounding Love by Hanson Thora Renson. Thora Renson. Thora Renson. YouTube jab 10 hours. Hey, how's it going? Mist, what's going on? Welcome in. Thanks for the song. Thanks for the positive vibes and the W. Keep it up, man. You too. Hearts in chat for Mist. Did you start this journey by doing Python fundamentals for beginners? I started with Harvard CS50P and reading Python crash course. These books were these were my books here. I haven't read this one yet. I'm reading this one right now. Thanks for coming in, Joe. Appreciate you. How's it going? My hair looks all crazy right now. Sorry, you guys. We're currently trying to get our chromatography simulation here. So, how do I want to put these in line with each other. So let's go. We have header section is justified content left. So then we have the compound container. So then what we'll do is this. We'll go. We have a content section left. So class content section. This is class content section. This is going to be ID equal to content section -2, right? Because this is content section 1. Content section right, I mean, sorry. And then we're going to have another div in here called, this will be the class of plot container, chroma plot container. Okay, and then this image is going to have an ID equal to chroma plot, right? And then we're going to throw this image into here. Okay. So now we want to basically get this right content section to be on both of these to be on either end. So we have the content section classes that we're going to go dot content section, right? Content section. So this is going to be display inline flex. No, we'll say flex. We'll say justify content center. And then we'll also align items center. Someone might SSLO. I mean, some undergrad chromatography student might use this to simulate and visualize what they're doing in their lab, because this is what undergrads are doing in their labs actually, in their thing. So how do I get these to be side by side? So the graph is this. I just took a screenshot of the graph. The graph is an animation. So when you do a chromatography in the lab for chemistry, so I have a degree in human biology and chemistry, and when you do a chromatography plate or a thin layer chromatography or paper chromatography, you have a medium or some sort of plate that you plot certain compounds on the x-axis. You then dip the plate into a solvent represented by black here, and that will then travel up and suspend these compounds within the solvent and travel and push them up through the medium. Now, depending on how the interactions with the medium and the actual compound is how far they will travel, like interactions will travel further as they will be attracted to one another and be able to move throughout the medium pretty fluidly. Whereas, as in red here, this compound had a randomized retention factor that was pretty low, and so you can see that it moves very, very slowly as the solvent drags these other compounds up through the medium. And so you can see that this one has almost a 1-to-1, maybe about a 90-85% ratio, so it has a pretty good polarity in relation to this medium. Whereas this is what I'm trying to display through these various entries here. How many Leet code questions have I solved? I think I've solved about 55, 53 or 55. Mostly easy ones though. Hello Algo, welcome back in, dude. My name's Jiv. I wish you all the best on your programming journey. Much love to you and everyone else pursuing. Thanks, dude. I appreciate you coming in for the kind words. I appreciate everyone being here and for following along. Hey, we crossed 1850. Nice. Thank you guys so much for pushing us past 1850. We're climbing up to 2K here. I'm going to be doing hopefully like a Counter-Strike case opening giveaway for the 2K. We'll open up like, 20 cases or something and do a case opening. I got to figure out how to do it on Mac though, because CS2 isn't allowed on Mac. So how do I get these to be side by side? So let's think here. So they're both labeled with the content section class. Their display as specs, we want to align items across the center axis of this div itself. So I'll say, if I have a content left section and a content right section, how could I style these to be on the left and right? They both share the class content section, but differ by ID. You can style them side by side. Content section, display inline block, vertical line top, content left, text line line. So what if I, rather than a justify content center, line item center, and then what if I go here and break down the content section left to be align items left, and then content section right. Oh, hold on, guys. All right, sorry guys, I'm back. Appreciate you guys being here. See any Twitch activities? No, no Twitch activities. Thanks so much for following along, Joe. I'm currently learning Python myself, and I'm a senior in high school studying computer science in the fall. Nice, get to work. That sounds awesome. What are you interested in? What kind of program do you like to do? Yeah, it looks pretty similar to what you would see. It kind of looks like color smears, like as it smears up through the plate on a piece of paper. It's like a thick piece of paper, and like it smears up, and well, actually, what it would normally would be is like a you wouldn't see the path really on some of these. You would just see the final position where you would take it out would be where it would like it would just be a final dot, and then you would measure that dot. But I'm showing the full path here, basically, to like, mimic. I could maybe potentially have these dots go away, so it kind of shows it crawling up and like kind of like a snake. So maybe like dots that are like more than 10 or something data points away will start to fade out. I can add that feature in. That would speed up my algorithm as well, because currently I need to optimize it a little bit better and speed it up. Just pretty much Python. Python, a little bit of C. I guess we're doing HTML, JavaScript, and CSS right now, but I really don't know too much about them. Okay, so then if I do right here, and then a line right, that doesn't do anything. So I want it to be this on the left, that on the right. So if I say content section, so if I say that this is display flex, then I say that this is display flex, if I say justify content right, that moves it over to the right. The align items doesn't do anything. We'll say justify content left, there. So then if we go here and go content section, and open this up, and then do display flex, justify content center, yeah, I haven't pushed it publicly yet, so lock in. You should take a peek though at my current open source community project that's in the Discord and also on my GitHub, the Small Business Manager. It's my most recent project I published, which is a complete automated business management ledger for income statements and balance sheets, allowing users to put in inventory items, expenses, and then transact those inventory items as sales and returns. So I currently have that. And then I currently did 2 pull request reviews yesterday on it for the community. So we're starting the open source up and it's awesome. So feel free to contribute and look in that. More information in my Discord linked below. But this is next. Once I kind of get a baseline, then I'll put this one out and we can start working on this one together. So I'm trying to get these to be side by side and then left and right. That's my goal here. So this says to content left, content section. It says display flex on the content container. Also, I need to content section left. So then let's say we need an overarching div, right, for class equals content section main. This will be sub. This will be sub. Now if we open this div, take our left content and our right content, copy Command X, Command V, bring this out. So now we have a content section, a sub for our left, content section sub for our right, and then overarching content section main Right, so now if we go style this, we go content section, main, flex, justify content, send. There we go. Now they're wrapped together. Now we won't justify content center here. Now it's flex. We'll justify content space between. There we go. So now it's on the left and right. So now what happens if I get rid of that? So now it's going to be like spread out pretty far though. So we just need to add some margin and make it a percentage of the screen. Right, so the compound container left, we're not going to justify content left here. We're going to give margin left here of, let's say, 25%. So now, let's say 20%. 15. And then we'll come here and do the same thing, but for margin right, 15%. So now those are pushed together a little bit more dynamically. So if we expand this out, okay, that's pretty wide. So let's say margin, let's increase this then to 25%. 25%. Make this wider. But then we want to give margin the margin right onto this one. We want to give it a little bit of margin here of, let's say, 5%, maybe even 10%, so that it won't basically kiss. You have some room there where it will stop. Perfect. And then I don't want that wrapping to happen. Margin left, so we can remove this, and then we'll do margin left will be 10% here. So now they have some room in between one another. So why does this side, the right side, come in so quickly? I thought I have a margin on that. So margin right on the content section right, 25%. So if I delete this, what happens? Nothing. Huh. If I bring it back, now it has it, but when I push it together, why does... Oh, it's just because of the image isn't resizing to be shrunken, right? Okay. So we'll have to deal with that on another instance. Currently, so then let's make the margin, let's make these in the middle at like 7. We don't need to have 10 all the way. So now that'll put, and it won't wrap. Well, it will wrap. bit less. So let's do 20, 20. So there's a little bit more room. It's still wrapping, but sorry, I'm missing some chats here. How many hours of combined Python learning do you think you've put in so far? Easily over, I think, 500 so far. Give the main section flex. Yeah, I got the main section flex. You should try and sticky both of them together in the center. How do you do that? How do you sticky them in HTML? I'm not sure how to do that. So then can I give content section right? Can I give this a padding of like 15%? No. I give pad right. Okay, so now compound section, each compound container. So this is the compound. Okay, so now I want to go here and go. I need to go to which one is how to make text wrap in the center, not left. Text align center. Word break. So I go. I currently don't do any programming for Biochemist, but I'm about to get into some actual programming because I currently did a pitch for my business or my company to incorporate an automation project into our current matrix operations and calculations. So I currently have to hand calculate a chemical matrix, basically balancing solutions of vast concentration levels across many different analytes, and I have to do it by hand and interpret many different lots, expiration dates, analytical ranges. And so currently I'm going to work with a bioinformatics specialist to kind of bridge that gap and create a tool or write software to automate this. So that's going to be a cool project I'm going to do at work, which will be fun, and I'll keep you guys updated. But that's currently, I'm more of a wet chemist. I work at the bench. I make actual solutions. I make biological controls as a formulation chemist as my 9-to-5 job. Okay, so now we have this here. I'm going to take those, just comment this out. Okay, so now we have this, right, where we have a plot on the right and a compound entry on the left. But why is it wrapping at that point? Why is it doing that? Because it's hitting something in the middle here. So I need to bring them closer together then in my styles, in my space between my margin right and margin left. Let's reduce this to 5%. 5%. Oh, this shouldn't wrap until you get even closer. It's like there. I'm gonna make it 2%. 2%. Here we go. On the small business manager or the this one we're working on right now? So I currently, to simulate the value right now, I'm currently just generating random values using numpy.random. And so, right, so what I do is I generate data here, and or sorry, for a retention factor, you generate a random retention factor. So what you do is you have compounds that I'm just generating compounds here. This will go away. This is temporary compound objects that are being generated. I'm organizing them in a certain formatting. And then here is where I'm giving them basically 200 random generations of data where I give them individual values based upon a retention factor given to them. Now that retention factor is given to them. Where is it? I think it's here, right? Yeah, so random number here, which is this np.random. So if it's a solvent, it just gets a retention factor of 1 because this is the leading, this is like our hair, and then our tortoises or our randomized tortoises that will be pulled up by this hair, right? Think of it like on a string that are pulling these compounds up through the medium. These ones have a random number generated between 0 and 1. With this np random.random here. And so what happens is then you run, I just have a still image here, but it'll show this creeping of this fluid through the medium. And as you can see, all of these are pretty fast. They're all pretty polar in comparison to this medium, but this red here is lagging quite a bit. And so you can see that this one is more non-polar or less polar than these other ones in relation to this solvent here that travels along the y-axis. The tool you want to create that helps with the matrix calculations, I bet if you could benefit from it, so can other chemists. Oh yeah, for sure. The thing is though, is with companies like that it's proprietary information, so they'll unfortunately everything I build under that name or that space will be already owned by them. So yeah, I'll get some pat on the backs and kudos from them, but they'll be very now in the lab it doesn't really streak like this most of the time. It'll just show like a singular point at whatever you finish it, but you can watch that point travel. But so I might make it so that these dots that lag by like maybe 10 to 15 data points, like a percentage, will slowly disappear on the re-rendering of the frames right now, because right now we're generating 200 frames, right, to make it more fluid-like. If I generated less, like 50, it would look less fluid-like. You can see it's more snaky and there's gaps in between, whereas when I generate more frames, I have more opportunity to more points to plot at each iteration, basically. What can programming do for biochemists? Well, for starters, the whole 21st century depends on machine automation. Automation's equal programming. That's a good point of view. Yeah, so currently it's not too fast, right? So I'm using this matplotlib animation functionality here. I don't really know too much about it. I kind of had to get a little bit of help for it because it was kind of confusing, this whole fig and axes, right? And then with this update and initialization functions, these three functions here is what's causing this overall simulation. Now my next, what I might have to do is, in order to post this, right, in order to get, if I have to then give this back to the user to display on the web page, right, from the back end, I might need to render it as a GIF using Pillow or something, and then save it in the database, and then send it back, so that and then we can manipulate speed and stuff from there. So what I might need to do is I might need to pre-render the frames, combine them together into a GIF using Pillow in a package, and then render that out as a GIF and then send that back, is what I might have to do to optimize this. But yeah, I definitely, the speed is not as fast as I want it to do, but I also can speed it up by potentially doing, right now I'm generating data in the form of lists, right? I could, let's see what happens if I do numpy dot array. Is it numpy dot array? What is the append to a numpy dot array? Good question. If you want to append to an array you use numpy, it is important it does not modify the original, it returns a new one. Huh. So I'd have to think about it. I'm not really sure. I don't know anything about web dev, but I wonder if you can generate a PNG once a frame in Python and then somehow send that to the web page and you display it. Yeah, exactly. Like that's exactly what I was thinking, is we'll just generate a PNG as a single frame, and then we'll combine them, we'll save them in a directory, and then combine them using Pillow to make a GIF or whatever. I think it's Pillow, right? To make a GIF, and then we'll send that link back. I'll make most programming jobs. I'm pretty sure matplotlib is what's slowing that down. The Python code should be running instantly. It's not that complicated. Yeah, it's definitely the generation of these individual, plot frames. And what it's doing is, my code also isn't that optimized, because what's going on is that it's it's generating new slices. So on each update here, it's plotting every single point you see before. So it's doing extra work rather than just referencing the previous frame and plotting the new point. It's plotting every single point on every single update. So it's really an O of n squared algorithm here, when it should be linear, because it could just reference the previous frame and then just plot the new point, the new topmost point on top of it, rather than starting from one, plotting and then plotting and plotting and plotting, a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher each time, right? That's what it's doing currently. Yeah, we'll have to do a GIF generator. Exactly, that's what I was talking about. It sounds like you need a GIF generator library. Yeah. If you know max size of the array, you should set the size before adding anything to avoid reallocations. Yeah, so the max size is, I'm presetting it with 200. So basically every single compound will get 200 data points generated off of its retention factor. So you'll have, if you have 5 compounds, times 200 x values and 200 y values. For a total of 200 total data points of x and y values, or 400 individual data points per compound. All right, you guys. This is the hour-and-a-half mark. This is the part 1 of the stream. I'll probably come back a little bit later for part 2. I'm just going to spend a little bit of time this Sunday with my lady friend. She just got off work, and so we're going to go a little grocery shopping and hang out a little bit this afternoon. But I really appreciate you guys joining me. We got some good work on styling and getting this updated. Our previous, we have a dev index HTML that I wrote, which has these compound entry boxes being updated dynamically with an add button, so you can add up to 5 and then remove. But it was getting a little bit complicated with my current understanding of HTML and web dev to be able to access those individual things that are being made dynamically with JavaScript. So I instead said, okay, let's break it down and let's make it a little bit easier at the start. Let's just statically make in these 5 entries and then get that working, and then we can refactor into dynamic compounds that get loaded in. So it'll be like a blank, and then you just press a button and it'll load in one, and then you can press it, it'll load in a second one, load in a third blank, load in a fourth blank, load in a fifth blank, and then you can remove them dynamically too. So, but now we have this set up exactly how I wanted it, with the left side being the compound entries and the right side being the actual graph display. So now the user will put in, their names here, right? And whatever, and then they'll put in their individual RF factors that are currently being limited by 1 up to these various RF factors all the way to 0. Right, you can't go lower than 0. And then they'll press run simulation, and then that will send a request to generate the plot, generate it on the back end, and then upload it right back to here in this image place on the screen. And then they'll also be able to have a randomized simulation, which will just put in random retention factors and then run that right away with all 5. So it's a pretty good point, a pretty good cool project we got going on so far. So if you guys are new here, follow along. I stream every single day after my 9-to-5 job, but on the weekends I'll come on, at different times, but I usually stream every single day around 7 p.m. But I'll be back a little bit later this evening for a part 2. We'll continue on with our project and do a Leet code problem and do a little bit of reading in our book to continue on with our studying. But I appreciate you guys being here for the part 1 of this afternoon stream. Make sure you sub and join along and join the Discord down below and contribute to the open source project, right? We just started an open source project, the Small Business Manager. It was my CS50X final project that I pushed to be a open source community project for all of my Discord and channel members. So make sure you participate in that and use it to your advantage. If you're looking to get a job and want to have something on your resume, I participated in this project with X amount of other developers across this community with this many members, right? They could really, if you have these numbers, I was an active member in a 500 plus community programming, a programmer community where we actively worked on this business management tool that aided in serving this amount of customers. And so, you can use these data statistics to your advantage when, seeking employment, and, we can use this community to our advantage. Anyways, that's enough of my ramble. I'll see you guys a little bit later tonight for a part 2. Thank you guys for being here. We're pushing to 2K subs. We're almost there. I'll see you guys a little bit later. Bye, guys.